What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Game Time here on the Game Time Sports Channel. And I'll just let you know, Winston's having a little bit of technical difficulties, but he will be on here in the next few minutes. But I thought we'd start already since we're 5 minutes past the hour and we should get this thing going. A lot to be talking about here in week 7 of the NFL. A lot of big stories going around. Certainly some teams that are reasserting their dominance here in their respective conferences, with the Eagles and the Chiefs both being 6-1. And a lot of people now starting to speculate whether we're going to get a Chiefs versus Eagles rematch in the Super Bowl here. Jalen Hurts versus Patrick Mahomes one more time. And what better showcase for the Travis Kelce Taylor Swift romance than a Super Bowl? Wouldn't that be interesting for sure? So a lot to kind of talk about there as well. We also saw the Bears come back here and maybe find their quarterback of the future over Justin Fields, possibly with a shocking win over the Raiders. But to be fair, the Raiders were starting Brian Hoyer instead of Carr, so there's a different situation there for that team here as well. We saw the Ravens dismantle the Lions. The 5-1 Lions coming in, and I'd said last week, I thought, this is going to be a real true test of where they're at as a team. And on the road, just a shocking loss in terms of the amount that they were beaten and the way that they were beaten by Lamar Jackson and these Ravens. That's certainly something we're going to discuss as well. Also, Brock Purdy and the 49ers getting their second loss in a row, both on the road. And I heard some disturbing numbers today as I was listening to ESPN or Fox Sports this morning as I was having my nice breakfast, talking about how Brock Purdy's record on the road and his numbers on the road are really troubling versus his numbers at home. So that's something we're definitely going to discuss. And also that the 49ers entering the fourth quarter down by more than 5 points are 0-29 over the last 23 years. So pretty incredible stats to be talking about here. We're also going to get in some MLB playoffs, some NBA stuff as well, and talk a little bit of that Michigan scandal in college football as well. So a lot to get into it, but I can't do it alone. So I got to bring on my partner in crime here on the Game Time. His technical issues are fixed and he is back to hang out with us here. It is the great Winston A. Marshall. How are you, Winston? How are things?
I hope they are, man. When I was trying to log in, that shit just kept spinning and spinning and spinning like fucking rims in 2006, bro. Oh my God. I'm good. Man. Anytime the 49ers lose, I'm good. Anytime like a team that everybody is like, this is the second coming of Jesus, gets like a little bit of humble pie, including my own. There's this weird sense of, even when the Cowboys are brought back down to earth.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, man, we were just kind of talking out loud. But thing, goddamn cheaters out of the fucking playoffs, and my team is back in the motherfucking World Series, man. That's all that matters. That's the only thing that matters. Let's go Rangers.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy. It's the first time the Rangers are in the series since 2011, and I thought they had been in the series much more recently, and so just kind of shocking to think that 12 years have gone by since they were in, because I remember, I think it was Ron Washington was the manager at that time. I remember that team and how close they came to winning the World Series that year. I'm sure you do too,
dude. Well, that was the thing. It was. I think I'm probably lagging a little bit still. It was 2 in a row. We got there and we played the Giants and got washed in 5 games, and we thought it was going to be a sweep. It ended up being a gentleman's sweep that we lost. And then the next year we made it again, and we played against the Cardinals, and we are in Game 6, the bottom of the 9th, 2 outs. We need 1 out. And we have won the World Series.
Yeah.
And yet somehow we ended up screwing that up, going into extra innings, losing Game 6, and then getting blown out in Game 7. And we have not sniffed a World Series since. The following year, we didn't even make it out of the divisional round, I don't think. So we're trying to exercise some demons here, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think they're 2 years removed from losing 100 games. And here they are in the World Series. So it just tells you, if you draft right, if you get the right manager, if certain things fall into place, you can get yourself in a great position here in the MLB for sure. But yeah, we're going to jump into week 7 of the NFL first. And just before we jump in, just remind you all to please subscribe to the channel down below if you haven't subscribed yet, and hit that bell button so you see we're dropping all the content we do here. Also, The Streamlabs are open, so start sending in your questions, thoughts, and comments. Streamlabs address is right there above our heads. It's pinned in the chats in the description of the video as well. If you need to click on that link and go and send us some support, we would really appreciate it. All right, Winston, let's jump into it as we're a few minutes late starting the show. So let's get to it, man. Jalen Hurts passed for 279 yards, throw 2 touchdowns, ran in for a touchdown, and helped the Eagles beat the Dolphins pretty handily here, 31-17. AJ Brown had 10 catches for 137 yards and a touchdown. It's his 5th straight game of 125 plus yards, and this ties him with Calvin Johnson in 2012 and Pat Studstill from 1966 for the longest such streak in league history. Pretty incredible stuff here. Tua was 23 of 32 for 216 yards. And of course, this was the first head-to-head matchup in the NFL between the 2 former teammates on Alabama that won the national championship. Tua coming in to replace Jalen Hurts in the second half of that game against Georgia and leading them on a comeback to win the national championship. But this was a pretty surprising victory by the Eagles. It was close for the first half, and then slowly but surely the Eagles took control of that game in that second half. What do you think about this, and where do the Dolphins rank in your mind here after this game, Winston? Okay.
I think 2 things came very apparent at the end of this game. The first is, and what has been talked about from jump, is that the Miami defense is a problem. It is a problem. It is a problem. And if you're against a team that knows how to score, they're screwed. Because look, the Eagles put up 31. That Buffalo game, if you remember the score off the top of your head, I want to say they won by 3 scores in that game.
48-20.
You were seeing that Miami's huge 48-20. So there you go. They do not have a good defense. And I think the thing that sticks out above all else, honestly, is while the Dolphins are still very good and they're not to just be scoffed at, what quality win have they had? Honestly, that all the teams that they have won against are below 500 teams. You know what I'm saying? Versus once you get to 2 very serious contenders potentially go the distance, they got train wrecked. The Bills just completely played with them the way that Sid from Toy Story used to play with them toys and break legs off and just add them on to other little things. You saw that whole situation with the way the Bills played with the Dolphins. And then this time, this one out here looked like Andy not necessarily breaking them apart, but being extra nice to his toys, but still playing extra hard. The Dolphins don't look capable of actually mixing it up with legitimate teams. So I think that they really are going to need to take a look at themselves. They're going to need to figure out what it is that's causing this issue. And they're going to really have to make some serious changes because if they don't, you'll take out the Patriots, sure. But then you got the Chiefs.
Sure.
Forget the Raiders. Then you got to deal with the Jets, who are on a magical season without Aaron Rodgers, which would be a pretty big issue for them. Your Commanders, some days you want to be good, some days you want to be bad. So that's kind of a toss-up. You'll beat the Titans. The Jets again. I just don't know how I feel about that. You're not beating the Cowboys. I'll get about how good the Tua Hill connection is, and hopefully a chain that will help with that. But if this is how you're dealing with adversity like that, Cowboys will handle you. The Ravens will destroy you, and then the Bills will come back and do what they did again. And then all of a sudden, the Dolphins have taken too many L's, and they're looking like they're in trouble. So they have to figure out how to fix this defense and fix it quickly. You saw the Eagles making that incredible trade and trading a bag of Skittles for the best safety on the Titans. So they need to try and figure out a way that they can do something like that themselves, because this is a problem.
Yeah, I agree with you. You're looking at the combined record of the teams with the 5 wins that the Dolphins have this season. They're 8-25. That's the combined record of all the teams the Dolphins have beat this season. That is a terrible record. And as Winston pointed out, the two teams with winning records, they got beat pretty handily in both of those games. Obviously, the Buffalo Bills game, a lot more of a hard loss for them to take. So I think the Dolphins have been exposed here, as Mike McDaniel certainly has a great offense, but you're absolutely right, Winston. The defense is where the issues lie, and I don't know what work they can do, who's available, who's out there that's going to turn things around for this defense, because Tua eventually is going to have to keep throwing and keep throwing and keep throwing, which means the good teams are going to be able to key on that and get in that backfield and hurt them. And we know Tua is definitely concussion prone, as we saw last year. So if you start to look at a team that you understand, they don't have a strong, with Arjane out, they don't have a strong running game. They've got issues going on here. Tyreek and Tua can't carry the whole team on the other side of the ball. So what are they going to do? So that to me is a great thing that you're pointing out, Winston. They've got to address this, and I don't know how they do it, to be honest with you.
I'll follow it up with, I think the Tua MVP conversation is out the window. If I'm being honest, both
I think
Brock Purdy
and MVP conversations out the window as well.
No. I don't necessarily think so, in the sense that my guy still put up 88 yards and a touchdown and is still on pace to eclipse 2,000 yards. Like, you know what I'm saying? He might even hit 2,300. So like that was this will bring it down just a little, because he didn't pass 100 this game.
Yeah.
I think Tyreek Hill is still in that conversation based off the fact that he did his job. 11 receptions, 88 yards and a touchdown. He did exactly what he was supposed to do.
Yeah, but if this team goes 9-8, Winston, no one's going to give them the MVP. You know what I'm saying?
They're gonna have to really do something. But let's say they go 9-8 and Tyreek Hill passes 2,300 yards. I understand that Tua technically gets all or a majority of those yards, depending on if a backup quarterback comes in at some point.
Yeah,
but it's clearly Tyreek Hill is doing something insanely magical, and that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You had a situation here where I think for both Tua and Purdy, and we'll get to him in a minute.
Yeah.
I still think Brock Purdy has the makings of a kid that genuinely can come out here and could ball out of control and could maybe maybe the conversation people are having about Brady, like moving in that direction, that's a lot. But as far as the story, I think the story still remains. I don't think he's touching Brady with all that shit, but he is in the story of, I was drafted hella late, people counted me out. I still think by the end of the day that Brock Purdy will have a great career.
Yeah.
But I do think we got to finally see here that, like, it really is the Shanahan system that has pushed him up. And for Tua, it is Tyreek Hill. That is the only thing that he did good this game. Tyreek Hill. And that was Tyreek bailing him out.
Yeah, it's true. And I see some people already saying, Jalen Ramsey's in practice, so that's going to help. And Waddle going out early, maybe it affected the Dolphins. That's for sure. But these Eagles look like when they've got to step up, they are going to step up. It isn't pretty. Certainly Hurts was throwing interception. He threw another interception that was not pretty in this game. They went for a pick six. Last week, he threw 3 interceptions in that loss to the Jets. So you got questions here about these Eagles, but you got to win ugly and you got to win pretty in the NFL to put yourself in a position to compete for a Super Bowl title. And look, they're 6-1, matching the Chiefs 6-1. And so you can't argue that whatever they're doing here is working well. And their defense is a monster. The Eagles sacked Tua 8.6% of his dropbacks, and he averages only 4.6% in his sacks there. And they held Tua to an explosive play rate of 5.6% when he averages 11%. Held the Dolphins to only 52 yards after the catch, where they average usually 114 yards after the catch per game. So that's pretty incredible there. And they only held the Dolphins to only 10 offensive points. Remember, 1 is a pick 6. So only 10 points in the entire game. So that tells you, man, the Dolphins, they remind me of those AFC teams that we've seen for decades that can certainly score. But the second they play an actually damn good defense, they have a hard time being able to adjust to a defense that can match them and hit them in the mouth and go toe-to-toe with them. And I think we're seeing that here with the Dolphins. And look, Mike McDaniel seems to be everybody's favorite coach, and he's cool and hanging out, talking to the refs, being smooth, doing all the things that he's doing.
Mike McDaniel's, I'll give him credit.
Fix your defense, that's all I'm saying.
It's not just that. I'll give him credit for, some of the stuff his offenses be doing is wild. Mm-hmm. That boy is the biggest goober-looking mother goober I've ever seen in my life, bro. And it goes to show when he's losing. It's really interesting when he's winning. He still kind of looks like, even though he looks like a goofball, still kind of looks like Johnny on the spot. When he's losing, he just has the ugliest face when he's just trying to Like
he
it's
does.
just.
But I'm
But
gonna
I
throw something out too, Winston. Something
yeah.
you just said. One of our fans pointing out, MK Songbird. AJ Brown is only 82 yards behind Tyreek for his receiving yards. Didn't realize. So I
Let me
don't
take a
see
look at
AJ
that. Hold on,
running a
I'm
lot of plays.
curious.
Like Tyreek will occasionally take the ball off the line there as a running back, but
Let me
could be
take a look
interesting
at
at the end of the
this.
day. Who has the highest numbers with AJ Brown having a monster season already?
Well, because like what I'm curious about with that, as far as AJ Brown
Yeah.
goes, is how much of that, um, like how that has played out because
Mm,
he's had a kind of a quiet season for all things, for all intents and purposes, but I guess not. I didn't
yeah.
realize that old boy was out here in these streets
Yeah, you're
looking
just
at
saying
this.
that's
Okay,
Cowboys. You got those Cowboys eyes on. You
no,
can't
it's
see
not.
good stuff
It's
from
not
them.
necessarily that. It's just that the Eagles season has been interesting, even though
Yeah.
they are only one loss down. It's been kind of sloppy wins, so we
Yeah.
haven't really been paying as much attention to the Eagles. We've been like, the question has been, okay, they're still really good. What's going on with them?
Right.
Because they were handing people their asses last year.
Yep.
Like they went 8-0 to start the season. So
Yeah.
people were very confused, especially when you saw teams like the 49ers rolling.
Yeah.
The 49ers were not to be trifled with when the season started. So everybody was like, why are the Eagles? Why does it feel like they're so far behind? Including the fact that Jalen Hurts feels like he took a step back.
Yeah.
The
Yeah. Yeah.
has as many turnovers as he has right now
Yeah.
is wild, including throwing a pick six in this game. I understand that
Yeah.
the Eagles good for them, but that's in and of itself. So yeah, but I am looking at this. So here's why. The first two games you had 79 yards and 29 yards. That's how we
Yeah.
started. So people weren't even really putting him on said radar. But then after that, you had 131, 175, 127, 131, 137. That's ridiculous.
Right.
And 3 touchdowns in there. I think the other thing that probably throws it off, sure, he's behind in yardage like that.
Yeah.
But if I'm not mistaken, yeah, Tyreek Hill has 7 touchdowns. So like
Yeah.
that's why in my mind, AJ is a beast.
Yeah.
And he's definitely a top 5 receiver, not just with the stats that he's putting up. What is setting Tyreek Hill apart is it's not only the yardage, he has 7 fucking touchdowns. The next closest to Stephon Diggs was 6 because Josh Allen doesn't know how to throw to anybody else. So you know what I'm saying? Like this is that's the other thing that's so interesting. Like
Gabe
Addison,
Davis just sat up in bed.
Addison is also like if we're just looking at touchdowns.
Oh, Addison, yeah. Last night we're gonna get to that
because of last night. Then after that is Andrews with 5.
Yeah.
And then Sutton and Moore with 3. And again, a lot of these, Addison had his multi-touchdown game yesterday.
Yeah.
Mark Andrews had a multi-touchdown game.
Yes.
DJ Moore is following up with 5, and that's because he had 3 on a night against those shitty ass Commanders. So it's like it's again, you can't just look at, and this is what throws me off of people when you're looking at who is dominating whatever. You cannot just look at one statistic. So the fact that AJ Brown is just that much behind in yardage, okay, cool, but you got to go with touchdowns. You got to go with like I'm looking here at the longest yard here, and I'm also looking at yards per game. You're looking at Tyreek Hill, who's averaging almost 130 yards per game, and AJ Brown, who's averaging 116. That is still very close, but you remember that's going to multiply over the weeks. If we keep at that clip, AJ Brown will not keep up with Tyreek Hill. So that doesn't mean talent-wise he's not there. I'm just saying Tyreek Hill is doing some wild shit right now.
He is.
You got people like Ocho Cinco and Shannon Sharp making arguments that Tyreek Hill is already a top 10 receiver of all time. That's crazy.
Yeah. Let's hit one of the Streamlabs that correlates with what we're talking about here. Mike Joyce. Thank you, Mike. Good to see you. And great. Thanks for watching the show. Says the Eagles have to be the best team in football, right? I mean, I have AJ Brown and Goddard on my fantasy team, and I'm becoming more and more of an Eagles fan every week. That being said, I feel like I should sell high on them. Am I crazy? What? No, if you're winning your fantasy league, why the hell would you trade your players unless you're 1-5 right now and they're the only 2 best players you got? Maybe you can make a run at this point and trade them for something bigger, but I would keep that. I would keep those guys if they were on my fantasy team. But what do you think? What do you think you should do here? Are they the best team in football? I thought they were the 49ers. I actually think there's no best team in football anymore. I think it's all depending week to week, and it's a jumble of 5 to 6 teams that are always in the mix. Maybe 4 teams that are in the mix, but I don't think I can say a best team in football anymore right now.
This might be the most interesting season of football I feel like I've watched in the last decade.
Yeah.
Because I do not feel that there is a favorite or a front runner. I don't, because every team that has been that person has had a shellacking in the mouth in one form or another, either in a 2-game losing streak for San Francisco, because I don't think that these losses were horrendous, though Brock Purdy got a little exposed. I don't think they were horrendous, but I do think you're on a 2-game losing streak being the team that you are. That says something. I think the fact that the Eagles have almost lost games that they had no business almost losing speaks to them. I think the Cowboys, like, even though we're kind of far behind some of these teams, I would make the argument, like, while we have good moments, we can't seem to step up when we need to. I don't care that the Kansas City Chiefs are 6-1. That's great. And they, in my opinion, are probably the best team in the AFC. Patrick Mahomes does not look like himself. He keeps throwing random interceptions where I'm like, what the fuck were you thinking? And if you keep doing that, when you get to a moment where, like, let's say that the Bengals get on their roll and they do what they need to do and you end up back in the AFC Championship game, if Patty's making those costly mistakes at the wrong time, the Chiefs, I don't care how good you are with that Patty to Kelsey connect, you might fuck yourself. So, like, there's no team that I feel confident at this point is just, they're going to the Super, not a single one. And that's actually fun to watch football, because now it really is any given Sunday.
It is. I know Sean is going crazy about his Chiefs, but, you know, they've been shaky on the offensive side, although they did have a good game. And we'll get to it. We'll get to it, definitely. Let's move on to the Vikings 49ers game here. As we said, the 49ers lost the second game in a row on the road as well to a team that was sub 500. I think the Browns were sub 500 last week, but they lost 22-17 here last night to these Vikings. As we said, Kirk Cousins and Addison had 2 touchdowns. They threw 2 touchdowns there. And there were 2 late interceptions here by Cameron Bynum on Brock Purdy that ended up sealing the deal here for the Vikings. Cousins went 35 for 45 for 378 yards, no sacks. Christian McCaffrey scored twice for the 49ers. Brock Purdy was 21 of 30 for 272 yards. That's 70% completion rating, ladies and gentlemen. So, and then Justin Jefferson was sidelined by that hamstring injury, and Addison did the deal here in this game. Pretty incredible to watch this. But remember, the 49ers were without Deebo Samuel and without Trent Williams. And then Jake Moody, my fantasy kicker, who I'm going to drop this week, missed a 41-yarder and then made a 55-yarder a little bit later on in the game. But at the end of the day here, man, this feels a lot of people trying to blame Brock Purdy. I know that's the casual thing to say right now, but I feel like this is on Purdy and the defense. How the fuck are you allowing the Minnesota Vikings to rack up 452 yards of offense on your ass and 22 points when they couldn't even do that against the Chicago Bears defense, for God's sakes? So this is an interesting situation to look at here. Let's go.
Hold on.
And Purdy deserves criticism, but I'm going to blame that defense as well.
The first thing is, those picks by Purdy were awful.
Well, the first one wasn't his fault. What's-his-face fell down on the pattern after he'd thrown the ball. So that's unfortunate. The second one was horrific.
The second one was horrendous. He threw to literally a defender. That's not let's keep that into perspective. Second of all, if Christian McCaffrey, I mean, he still had it looks like 100 yards overall. So I will give him that. Knowing that the main thing that he's been doing is pounding the ball on the ground, and on 15 carries, he can only pull out 45 yards on a Vikings defense that is not known for being good at rushing. There is something to be said about the quote unquote MVP candidate in that particular regard. As far as not getting that done. So there's that. I think what this needs to be more praise about is not necessarily the Niners loss, which is bad. They have now been exposed. I think we got to give Kirk Cousins his fucking flowers, bro.
What? No. But go ahead.
Kirk Cousins threw 35 of 45. He had almost 400 yards, sitting at 378, 2 touchdowns, an interception. And he did this without Justin Jefferson. What is the main criticism we give Kirk Cousins as far as him and the way he plays?
That he chokes in the playoffs.
The only person he throws to is Justin Jefferson, making insane plays. That is the only person that he knows exists on his team. The fact that, like, there's a whole sketch that the RDC World did about it when a quarterback has a favorite wide receiver and throws to no one else. And Justin Jefferson's over there in a fucking cast or whatever, and he's still throwing the ball at him.
Yeah.
He found a way to involve all of his receivers. He had 22 targets between Hawkinson and Addison.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And they pulled an 18 for him on that.
Right.
Like, you have to give him credit for actually getting, and he had almost 4 receivers over 50 yards. Yeah. Osborne had 47. He was just shy 3 yards of it. So, like, he really got his full receiving core in the mix, especially knowing that their run game is abysmal. Madison is not the dude. Akers, there's a reason why the Rams didn't want him anymore. Yeah. So, like, when you have a non-existent running game and Kirk Cousins put the team on his back like that, you have to give him credit. I don't want to give him credit because I think that he does have a lot of flaws. I think when you do get to the playoffs, he's going to self-destruct. But, like, to take them out of their, 1-4 ditch, and to do this and to do it against arguably what was considered which was considered the best team in football
100%.
On Monday night. So
100%.
The whole world is watching.
Yeah. Knock me out. Whole world watching. Knock me out. You're right. But look at this. I want to look at some of the numbers here for Brock Purdy, because this is something to consider when you look at the situation with him, right? In his 5 wins, he has got 72% completion rating and 60% in his losses. That's huge. He has 9 touchdowns, no interceptions in his wins, 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions in his losses. 123.1 is his rating overall in those 5 wins. 69 is his ratings in those 2 losses. And there's something to be considered here when you look at the home and away, right? At home, he is completing 75% of his passes. On the road, it's 62%. Again, 3 interceptions in those road games. His rate is 85.5, and his success rate at home is 136.5 overall. And he's taking more sacks on the road than he does at home. And another part of this, which I didn't know until I was listening to a couple of guys there on ESPN, the 49ers are apparently 0-29 in games where they are down by 5 points since, I think, the year 2000 going into the 4th quarter. And that tells you something about, no matter who the coach is, for some reason, they've got some bugaboo about not being able to come back. And certainly this team at this point with Brock Purdy, who is still essentially in his rookie season, if you combine the amount of games he's played, this is not a team that can come back. So you don't want to go down. Now, I heard your illustrious owner speaking to ESPN last night and said, I wish this morning, I wish the Cowboys could have taken care of the 49ers like the Vikings did. We should have been able to do that. And it's like, no, those are 2 different situations there completely. And so you got to look at this. So, of course, Brock Purdy deserves criticism. He's still figuring the game out. That being said, they still had a chance to win in both of those games, the Browns and the Vikings, all the way until the end, even with the erratic play of Purdy a little bit at times. So, yeah, criticize him. Hopefully the kid learns from this. The road games, though, Winston, this is an issue because if the Eagles keep winning and get that home field advantage, the 49ers are going to have to go to Philadelphia, if all things play out the way they're supposed to beat these Eagles to get into the Super Bowl. And that might not happen with Brock Purdy on the road, looking at how he's playing right now on the road this year.
Bro, I just got to say, they would never put him in the MVP conversation because of the team's overall record unless they do a full
Purdy?
turnaround.
No.
No, not that. And I'm saying, I'm going to come back to Purdy because there's some stuff that I definitely need to say about that because there was something I saw that had me fucking dying. That I definitely want to get to. But they would never put him in the conversation because of what their current record is. But if he not only turns them around, gets in the playoffs, maybe even figures out a way to win the division.
Yeah.
The fact that Kirk Cousins is not potentially in that conversation as well. Because again, the team keeps losing, and that's a conversation to be had about that defense.
Yeah.
But the one they handled their business this past game on Monday. But let me just give you some stats. First of all, for those that love to talk about yards, they wanted to say AJ Brown's only X amount of yards behind Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
Tua has 2,092 yards. Kirk Cousins has 2,057. Tua is averaging 9.1 yards per throw. The next highest that I see here is Purdy at 8.6. But again, you're talking about Hill and Debo, who will go off and give you all the yak, as much yak as you want. But Kirk Cousins is right up there in the mix at 7.3, just barely behind Patrick Mahomes. He's averaging 293.9 yards per game, putting him at, let's see where he ranks there, at number 2 behind Tua.
Yeah.
He's got 16 touchdowns on the league, on the year, leading the league up outside of Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Tua, Russell Wilson, who has 13. I guess he got tired of the bathroom jokes because he's out here throwing touchdowns all of a sudden. They just can't win. And then as far as interceptions go, let's see here where it's, you know what, when they do it that way, I see what they did. So Kirk Cousins has got 5.
Yeah.
For those people that we're talking about that are in that mix right now, Tua's got 6. Patrick Mahomes has got 6. Matthew Stafford has 6. Josh Allen has 7. Jalen Hurts has 8. Sam Howell has 7. So, like, I don't want to say this, but Kirk Cousins is having one hell of a fucking season.
Nonsense.
He really is. He just plays on a shitty team. And I know you hate him because he couldn't get it done for you guys. But dude, you have to admit it. You may not want to admit it, but you have to admit the season that he's having.
2,057 yards already, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
But only a 68.9% completion rating overall. You're right. 16 touchdowns.
Patrick Mahomes is at 69.5.
Well, Mahomes is a flash in the pan. We know that. No, I'm joking. 68.9% completion rating. If that's Taylor Swift winning those games. 16 touchdowns for Cousins and 5 interceptions. That you're not, but his rating is 101.7. So look, here's what I'll tell you. And this is another stat I'll throw in that I had in my listing in my notes here. Cousins hit the 300-yard mark for the 50th time in his 12-year career. Only 4 other quarterbacks have ever done that by their 12th season. Drew Brees, Matty Ice, Peyton Manning, and Kurt Warner. So, you know, you could argue. No, Brees won a Super Bowl. Manning won a Super Bowl. Warner won a Super Bowl. Matt Ryan and his team blew a Super Bowl against those Patriots, or else he would have also been a Super Bowl winner. Cousins, you could argue, is an incredible quarterback in the regular season. The problem is when you go to the playoffs, he melts. And that's what's always going to be a negative thing on Kirk Cousins.
I don't disagree. But
even if he had taken a team to the Super Bowl, like Marino. Marino never won a Super Bowl, went to 1 Super Bowl, but Marino is considered one of the greatest quarterbacks ever in the NFL. I think if Cousins could get to 1 fucking Super Bowl, it would change the narrative about him completely, but he can't seem to do it. But yeah,
I'm going to throw a quick timeout onto there. You know who else has been known as Mr. Regular Season? If so, there's a reason why a certain other quarterback surpassed him in the conversation of GOATness.
Go ahead.
That would be one other than Peyton Manning.
Yeah, well, true.
Peyton Manning was that dude during the regular season, and then you would get to the playoffs and he would vanish.
Yes.
So I'm not saying that Kirk Cousins is the second coming of Peyton. I'm not saying that he's quarterback Jesus. He still has flaws that he has to work on. And there is something about, it doesn't matter how many yards you're putting up, because look at Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford would put up those yards, but you just could not get the job done. But look at how a change of location, and I know he already played with Washington. You guys are just a dumpster fire organization, especially when Dan Snyder owned you. That's funny that you say that. That's funny that you say that. Oh, I know. I have admitted that someone needs to die, but he made an AI version of himself, so this motherfucker will never go away. So that you're not gonna get me. I know I'll roast myself. I'll be rapping myself all day. Get the fuck out of here.
You're right.
I'm saying that if you put Kirk Cousins in, you want to actually see the 49ers become invincible, go put Kirk Cousins on the 49ers.
I'm gonna put this out right now. I have heard rumblings on these sports shows that the 49ers behind the scenes have been kicking the tires on a Kirk Cousins trade. I'm going to tell you right now, if I would 100% trade Kirk Cousins for Brock Purdy right now, I would, because if you got that defense, and if he can limit the turnovers and seems to be doing that this year, and under Shanahan's direction, he can make him a better quarterback, you have a better possibility. Now, I love Brock Purdy last year, love Brock Purdy this year. We'll see what happens. But Cousins is a proven commodity, and I would absolutely trust him in the hands of a coach like Shanahan ironically, the son of Mike Shanahan, who drafted Kirk Cousins to the Redskins at the time. So it would be interesting. So.
Bro, I know this. I can't see a team in the world other than the Chiefs as Sean Brennan is actually in these streets saying that Brock Purdy and Kirk Cousins are the same goddamn player.
That's nonsense.
Are you out of your fucking mind?
Nonsense.
I understand that Brock Purdy is still young, so there's things to learn about it. I understand he's put on whatever said pedestal, and we'll see what no, this is the joke I was going to say that fucking killed me now that I'm in the middle of this rant. Somebody goes, man, the documentary of Linsanity Part 2, Brock Purdy is going to be fucking fire. I started dying of laughter because I was like, holy shit, did we just watch a Linsanity moment happen again?
That's great.
But like, that's all I'm saying, bro, is that I have my feelings about Kirk Cousins. The way he was talking about the vaccine, however you feel about it, but that's its own thing. His dad's kind of got this weird Christian thing going. There's a lot of reasons why I don't fuck with Kirk Cousins in those regards. But if you're just talking about how homeboy is playing, someone said it reminds them of Romo. Yeah, it was kind of the same thing. Romo kept dealing with a dumpster fire situation of an organization where the offense might be rolling, but then the defense sucks. Then the defense is kind of good, but then all of a sudden your O-line sucks. And then injuries happen. And like, Romo, if he was ever handed the keys to a stable situation with decent coaching, could have won a number of Super Bowls, especially when you consider what those numbers said. And if you look at those games those clutch games he lost, people love to harp on like the fumble with Seattle in the playoffs. There's a couple of other situations where, he lost those games, and he needs to own up to that. And he has, you know what I'm saying? Where there's like a solid 3 or 4 games out of his like 18-year career that I could go, that was the end of the season because of you. But I can point to a number of them where he put up 500 fucking yards and 5 touchdowns, but the defense let the other team score 6. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's the same thing with Kurt here. I think that Kurt is in a situation where the Vikings have never truly become that, what feels like a stable organization that makes all the right decisions. And if you put him with a team like the 49ers, bro, that's the missing ingredient for the 49ers is they can never find a quarterback that can get them there. They just couldn't. And that would be the difference maker.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And you look at the situation here. Brock Purdy has started 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 13 games. That is all he has started, 13 games. So Sean Brennan saying they're the same quarterback proves that Sean Brennan has been dropped on his head a lot as a child, because there's no way you can compare a guy in his 12th year who just put himself in the company of Kurt Warner, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, and Matt Ryan to a guy who is still only 13 games into his career overall as a starter. So that's a different situation. Kirk Cousins, you have a proven commodity of a guy who can wing the ball down the field when he needs to. If you can limit his instinct for turnovers, then you'd be able to have a better, more well-rounded quarterback. And maybe Shanahan can do that. That being said, I don't think it's going to happen. Cousins already said he's not going to be traded to an offense he doesn't know. He wants to stick with the Vikings, but who knows? Stranger things have happened before the trade deadline. We shall see in the NFL if it does happen. But
I just don't.
I would trade Purdy in a minute, to be honest with you.
So maybe let me clarify here, Sean. Since you're here, and make sure that we read this right. Are you saying that Kirk Cousins is the same as Romo, or are you saying Kirk Cousins is the same as Purdy? Because I read that
the
you
same
said,
player.
But who are you comparing? Because if you're saying Purdy and Cousins are the same, that's insane.
Yeah.
If you're saying that Kirk and Romo are the same, I will actually give you that. I just want to make sure that we understand what comparison you were making there, because
I did read what he said. I just put up what he said. Joseph, why don't you read what he said? Go ahead. Yeah.
No. But who is they? Who are they? Right. Is that Purdy and Cousins, or Cousins and Romo? That's what I need the answer to. Yeah. Because that will determine. Because one of the things that he did,
Cousins and Romo, I can accept.
As Romo, then there you go. Then I'm on the same page as you.
No, I think you gave him his out. I think he was embarrassed to admit that he was comparing Cousins to Purdy.
I'm not going to let you do this. I know that you and Sean Brennan hate each other secretly. Like, he broke up with you before you found the Lady Outlaw, and that's why you be getting so in your feelings.
He didn't become a Chiefs fan until Mahomes became their quarterback.
It doesn't matter. That happens all the time. There were people that were never Warriors fans, and now they are because of Steph Curry.
I think he's that Chargers fan. He was a Vikings fan, then became a Chargers fan. That's what I think.
I'm not going to let you do that either. That woman has a fucking child on the goddamn Vikings.
Child.
cool. I'm not. See, Rocha, what I'm really here to do, as much as I just be standing for the Cowboys, is to keep your ass in check because you be flying off of the handle. I watch you on Twitter sometimes. And I'm like, who is worse, Coy Jandrew or fucking John Rocha? Where you just decide you're just gonna cut somebody at the throat. And I'm like, but why? Why are we starting wars?
Well, if people listen, let me clarify the Twitter thing. If you don't come at me with a condescending tone, you're not going to get a condescending tone back.
No,
if you come at me with respect, I'm going to respect your tone back.
I'm not doing that either.
That's how I work.
There was a time where someone was like, Andrew was stupid. You go, Andrew was stupid. You stupid son of a bitch. You hate all Latinos. You hate Star Wars. You hate Kathy Kennedy. I never stop. You hate the Mandalorian. You hate everything that's good in this world. And I hope you die in a fucking fire. And I'm like, Rocha, was that necessary? Was that necessary?
I hope you die. I hope you burn in hell. No, I don't pick the fights unless they pick them. All right. Anyway, let's take a break. At least in my mind, that's how it's going down. Let's take a break. We're 40 minutes into the show. God damn it. We got more to talk about. We'll be right back with the Ravens, some Chiefs talk for sure, and some Patriots talk, which will tie up to a Streamlab we got here in just a second. We're back right after this. All right, let's get into it, Winston. The Baltimore Ravens here, a team not to be overlooked. It looks like here in this situation, absolutely dismantled the Detroit Lions, who are coming in at 5-1, the division leader in the NFC North here, and they beat them 38-6. Baltimore reached the end zone 4 times before Detroit even managed a first down in the game, for God's sakes. Lamar ended the day with 357 yards on only 27 attempts, which is an astonishing 13.2 yards per attempt. He had 3 passing touchdowns, ran for a touchdown, and only 6 incompletions. And he completed 71. He has completed so far this year 71% of his passes, which is only second to Tua. And as you mentioned earlier, Mark Andrews had 2 of those touchdowns. And Baltimore scored on its first 4 possessions. A pretty complete game from top to bottom here. They had a 16-0 edge in first downs, and a 325-13 advantage in total yards by halftime. By halftime, Baltimore was allowed a league low 7 touchdowns this season, has allowed rather a league low 7 touchdowns this season, and it's pretty incredible to see what they had done. The Lions had come in winning 4 straight, all by at least 14 points. They had scored at least 20 points in 15 consecutive games, and they were wiped out in this game. What are your thoughts about the Lions and the Ravens and Lamar Jackson, Winston?
I think people really have to pay attention to strength of schedule. It doesn't mean that what the Lions weren't doing wasn't impressive.
Right.
Your only quality win was the Chiefs. And because you lost to the Seahawks, which are, in my opinion, like they're good. They're middle of the pack. You know what I'm saying? So you lost that game. Falcons, nothing to be written home about. They were looking at Ritter, and he's just not the guy. So you won that game, sure. The Packers are not good. Jordan Love is not the answer, at least right now. Hopefully you give him some time to develop, but as it is out right now, they're not. It's not the sauce. You have a situation down in Carolina where that quarterback, given time to develop, will do good things, but they're nothing to be talked about.
Yeah.
And then the only other like pseudo quality win I'll give you is the Buccaneers, because Baker Mayfield's doing fine on that, but they're a 500 team. They're 3-3. Yeah. So it's like, it is what it is. Now you're coming up against what is considered a perennial issue in the Ravens. You get destroyed. Now that doesn't mean that the Lions are done. It means that's your slap in the mouth wake-up call.
Yeah.
And you have a very easy schedule to end the rest of this. Raiders should be an easy win. Chargers, they can't decide if they want to be good or bad. You should be able to handle that. You play the Bears twice. The Bears aren't good. You play the Packers again. They're not good. The Saints can't decide if they're good or not. Olave's ass now getting arrested, which is a whole thing, and I'm sure he'll be fine, but who knows if that's going to lead to any sort of suspension. Broncos are not good. You play the Vikings twice, so good luck with that if they want to be the Vikings of last night.
And last year. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Good luck. And then playing the Cowboys again, we kind of go back and forth, but if we're playing on our best day, they don't have a shot either. So it's one of those situations, again, looking at the Lions, they've had a cupcake schedule and they have one for most of the year. So I still expect them to win out the division.
Yeah. But
I don't know. But that's why I said I'm not getting on the Lions bandwagon until I start seeing them win playoff games. They haven't even gotten to the playoffs yet. Right. And that's the whole thing. That was why I was saying that earlier, where I put respect on their name, but they're not there yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Team that is building up and has to take losses like this to kind of learn from it. I mean, the Chiefs have taken some pretty brutal losses during their runs to the Super Bowl as well. I mean, some pretty ugly losses. 44. What was that one? They lost 44-13 or something like that. It was pretty horrific on Monday night or Sunday night football. And they turned it around. So there's possibilities here. Dan Campbell can learn from a loss like this and put things together and figure out how to beat a team like the Ravens. And the Ravens were clearly salivating, waiting for this team. And that Ravens defense is no joke. You know, one of the things that we've known about the Ravens is for years now under Harbaugh is that defense comes to play. And the years when they don't is when the Ravens struggle the most. If you've got a Lamar Jackson with a new offensive coordinator playing the best football of his career, combined with a scary defense like this Ravens team, we might be looking at a team that may sneak its way into the Super Bowl here over the Chiefs, Bills, Chargers, whoever you want to throw in the mix here and get themselves into a Super Bowl. And that could be really interesting to see as a complete team. I mean, Eagles versus Ravens, that looks like a knockdown, drag out heavyweight fight that I want to watch. It's going to be a tough matchup between two incredible quarterbacks and two phenomenal defenses. So I'm very excited to see.
You're talking about the Super Bowl.
I'm talking about the Super Bowl. The Ravens versus the Eagles.
Is that your now estimation into the midway?
I'm saying I would love to see it if it does happen because of how they're playing right now. Both of those teams could be real interesting to see what we're going to get. And look, I'm not discounting the Chiefs. We're going to talk about next. Their defense has been incredible. It's one of the reasons they're 6-1 right now because of that strong defense overcoming the erratic play of Mahomes and the injuries over the first few games. So, but like I'm looking at this Ravens team, and if this is Lamar, and look, who's another guy that's gotten a lot of shit for being a choke artist in the playoffs? Lamar Jackson. So this is a situation here where he could turn that around. If he just gets to a Super Bowl, he can turn that around. If he wins it, we have a whole completely different perspective on Lamar Jackson. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen.
Yeah. It's funny that the two quarterbacks in purple, they have the same issue. They'll ball on you all season long. But when it's time to put up or shut up and go get that ring, you get into the playoff scenario and something short circuits. And we all have certain moments that happens, man. I think that this game puts Lamar firmly back into the MVP conversation.
I think that's a great point. Yes.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, I also think that this is not like a killing blow to the Lions at all. I hope that the Lions do not take this and they deflate as far as confidence goes, because they're playing some smash mouth football.
Yeah,
and Dan Campbell is really showing them how to do things. I just think you found yourself in a real test and you got checked.
Yeah.
And I really think that they are going to they need to handedly win the rest of these games, and they really need to put up their last 3-game stretch. It's going to be rough. That's 2 divisional games and a Cowboys team that, like, again, at their best is blowing teams out, and even at their worst are still handling business to a certain degree. They could be pretty bad at times, but they still are holding their own. Yeah. So those are 3 hard games to win at the end of the year. So I want to see them just beating the ever-loving crap out of the rest of these teams through, the Raiders and then all of November and most of December. You know what I'm saying? They really got to show what's up.
Yeah, and like we were saying earlier, I mean, if the Vikings had maybe used this victory last night as a stepping stone or a springboard to come back, to have more faith in themselves, if they found a receiver in Addison who can fill in for Jefferson while he's injured, then we'll see what can happen with these Vikings. We're only 2 games behind the Lions, and they certainly got to play each other. So this could be an interesting year as it goes along here, because I don't have much faith in the Packers or the Bears figuring it out. But if the Vikings, because of Cousins, because of the offensive weapons they have, can figure it out, and Cam Akers looked good last night, for God's sakes. So it could be interesting to see what happens with them. Yeah.
Arguably the hardest challenge for the Vikings was the 49ers, just because the Chiefs are still very good and at least they've been kind of consistent on stuff. But that's arguably the 49ers destroyed the Cowboys. Okay. You want a cookie?
That's what Vincent said.
What, okay. And what? Because I said that at our worst, we're still holding our own. Okay, fine. That's fine. We were actually doing fine in that game until we decided to not do fine anymore. Yeah, congratulations. You called me out. My point is, looking back at the Vikings as to what I was talking about, this is the remainder of their schedule. Packers, Falcons, Saints, Broncos, Bears, Raiders, Bengals, Lions, Packers, Lions. Also a cupcake of a schedule, and the only potential, I guess, challenge there for them would be the Bengals and then the Lions twice.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. So the Vikings also, the only thing working against them is they obviously have 4 losses already. The Lions only have 2.
Right.
But like, if the Vikings have just woken up playing the Niners and beating the Niners the way that they did, then they now look like the favorite out of the NFC North, because that's how you beat elite teams. If they can do that, the rest of the, oh my God.
The Lions and the Vikings play twice in the final 3 weeks of the season. And I think that is going to decide that division. Those 2 games. And by the way, they have to play the Cowboys in between the Lions do. So that's a hell of a stretch there. Vikings, Cowboys, Vikings. That's a tough stretch. And they're at the Vikings to start off with. So they may need to beat the Vikings at home in Detroit in order to get into the playoffs or win the division.
I still give the Lions the edge here. I just think that they need to be very aware of what is coming. And again, like, they both have easy schedules to the end. It's that last kind of 3-week stretch for them that are an issue. However, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, do not sleep on the fact that the Vikings have at least been to the playoffs a number of times. So they know what to do to push to get there.
True, good point.
If the Lions all of a sudden want to drop the ball.
They've been in those pressure environments. That's actually a very good point, Winston, certainly, for sure. Whether Cousins has performed in those pressure environments, that's a separate conversation. Certainly, they've been there and had the experience.
Such a hater. Oh my God, you were so mad. Your ex is out here living his best life, still having some issues, but they do it fine. And every time you see him post an IG photo, you know he's a cheater, right?
Right.
Like, you just so salty, bro.
You know, she used me for all those years, right? You know that, right? All right, let's move on to the Chiefs here. Let's give the Chiefs some love. Yes, I'm going to give the Chiefs some love. Patrick Mahomes threw for 424 yards and 4 touchdowns, and Travis Kelce had a massive day himself as these Chiefs beat the Chargers 31-17. Kelce had 12 catches for 179 yards and a score, much to the joy of Taylor Swift, who reacted when he got hit on a play as if he'd been shot from the stands. Anyway, got the victory here. Sorry, I guess my utility bill is calling there. Mahomes has improved to 29-3 against teams from the AFC West. Marquez Valdez-Scantling added 3 catches for 84 yards and a touchdown. I just picked up Rashee Rice in fantasy, and he gave me a nice day. Him and Isaiah Pacheco also caught touchdowns for the Chiefs, and they've won 4 straight against the Chargers. And the Chiefs were leading 24-17 through the fourth quarter when McCole Hardman, who is back on the Chiefs after he'd been on the Jets, it took a punt 50 yards. And I think that kind of was the last gasp for the Chargers in the end. And that was it. Once McCole was getting involved, it was clear that this game was going to go in the Chiefs' favor. Justin Herbert was sacked 5 times. He had 259 yards passing with a touchdown and 2 interceptions. Joshua Kelly ran for 75 yards in the score. And Joshua Palmer, who I hadn't even heard of, caught 5 passes for 133 yards for these Chargers. But Mahomes had 321 yards passing by halftime, and Kelce had 143 yards on 9 catches by halftime. For the love of God, this is what this team was doing, and the defense was handling their business as well. So the Chiefs are slowly rounding into form, man. I compare this like the Lakers under Shaq and Kobe. Like, they used the regular season to get in shape because they knew they were going to make the playoffs and then do their damage in the playoffs. We may be seeing the same thing happening here with these Kansas City Chiefs, which should scare everybody in the AFC. What are your thoughts here, Winston, coming out of this game about the Chiefs and the Chargers?
I think that the Chiefs look more like, I mean, they only have the 1 loss on the season. They just have all of their wins have been very sloppy until recently.
Yeah.
They've been like okay, you eked out that one, but now the Bengals love to hit you with that Aaron Rodgers relax. Like, the Chiefs really said that after that one loss, they're like, breathe, baby. We ain't had Chris, we ain't had Kelce. And now they're rolling on people. I will say again,
okay,
we need to be keeping an eye on Mahomie and on some of these kind of what were you thinking interceptions? But that's about the only thing that I think really needs to be looked at with the Chiefs. I just don't want to see Patrick out here doing his wizardry and then end up like teleporting a ball directly into the defense for a pick six in a game where it's a one touchdown game.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That cannot happen in a clutch moment.
Yeah.
That would be the only weakness I see currently with the Chiefs. Everything else seems to be rolling pretty well. The run game is fine. Pacheco did fine. I mean, 32 yards off of 13 attempts isn't great. That's a 2.5 average. So that is also something left to be desired. I understand that this is a pass-first league now, but like you need some of those moments when you're up to be able to just rush the ball and kill clock.
Right.
So that may not be your primary mode of scoring, but you would hope that your primary back or at least some combo of your two backs can get you right around 80 to 100 yards a game. You would hope for that. So that might be another little weakness. But again, I'm nitpicking. Because of how consistently stronger they've gotten. Those would be the two little issues I would look at that could be the key to stopping the Chiefs.
Right. Yeah. Sean Brennan saying, I tried to warn you guys about this defense. Oh, weapons matter now, Sean? I'm confused about what you're saying. But let's take a look at something else here. Because
you're a professional troll.
Yeah, kind of. I just love playing with. Let's take a look at this situation. Speaking of trolling, I put this up, and let's take a look. What are we doing here? What is this stupid ass shits? What is I can't even with this nonsense. I tweeted this out saying, I guess White Chicks 2 is starting shooting early here against the SAG strike. So, I mean, this is hilarious. And some people are putting up, and look, I think these NFL accounts are trolling people big time because somebody put up on their account, like Travis Kelce has gotten 100+ yards receiving ever since he became Taylor Swift's girlfriend. He had less than 100 yards in those two games without our boyfriend, rather, and without her. And I'm like, what? No, it was a different. How can you? But then that's meant to make your head explode. That being said, Winston, commentary on this nonsense white girl college sorority handshake celebration here. Your thoughts?
You act like white girls ain't been goofy since the beginning of time. What are you like? I thought your White Chicks 2 tweet was hilarious. I saw some people like, you are such a bigot. How could you say that? I was like, and then what makes me sad is like, damn, comedy really is dead. That was a funny little jab. And like, what did you mean by it? Nothing. That just they were goofy. That's it. That they were goofy. That's
which is the point of that movie. How they're joking
them doing the whole whatever that is. I would like if they had followed it up with after the hip bump talking about making my way downtown, walking fast, phases passing them home. That would have been hilarious. That would have been super funny if Taylor after doing that had been like and shake it, shake it. I was like. Yeah, white girls go white girl. It's fine. Who cares? The only thing I said, there's a lot of people getting at her for, she celebrated with Jackson Mahomes. Like, oh, don't you know it's like, first of all, you do understand that, like, unless Jackson is like straight up in jail or some shit like that, I'm sure he was told you were not allowed to TikTok a goddamn thing within these facilities anymore.
Oh, I'm sure Taylor's people had a really good hard talk with Jackson Mahomes. Yeah, for sure.
But to that point, he's still allowed to go to these games or whatever. He's gonna be in the box, in Patrick Mahomes' box that I guess he either shares with Kelce or whatever it may be. So it is what it is. I don't mind. Like, I'm not gonna come at Taylor for that. She's just gonna completely ice out because like Patrick hasn't like Jackson's dealing with his legal shit, but Patrick hasn't thrown his brother fully under the bus. You know what I'm saying? So like, if you're gonna get mad at Taylor, then you kind of need to get mad at Patrick for not disavowing his brother. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like a weird. I'm no Taylor apologist, but I saw this.
The Jackson Mahomes.
I saw that. The one that got me that I thought was funny and I thought was a good point. Was someone saying someone needs to tell the Swifties about Jackson Mahomes.
Oh yeah,
and then he will be dealt with properly. Like. I'm not expecting Taylor to do anything about that, just in the sense that, like, again, that's the brother of your boyfriend's. We'll call him.
She ain't going to be there to cause drama. She is not there to cause drama.
She got enough going on her plate. She don't give him like whatever. Who cares? But if you really want to deal with getting rid of Jackson Mahomes, like I said, the Swifties don't know. Tell the Swifties about what Jackson be doing, and not the TikToks. I'm talking about this woman having to close down her business because of the hate she was getting because of filing this sexual assault charge against him.
Yeah.
Go tell them about that, and then Jackson will disappear. You will not see Jackson again.
True. How about this? Do you like this one? Is this a good one?
Bro, I just look, I'm of the mindset if Taylor does something ridiculous, like if he does something offensive or tone deaf or something like that, if she's out here being like Jackson Mahomes is the greatest guy on the planet, if she puts something like that out, you want to have a field day by all means. Otherwise, if she's doing handshakes with the significant other of, again, her boyfriends, will call him best friend because I don't have anything to counter that Travis and Patrick aren't best friends, or at least teammates. They're very close teammates.
Yeah.
I would expect her and I would hope for her to get along with the significant other of her boyfriend's teammate. You would want that.
Let me put something on the table here. All right. She isn't dating like, how can I say this? One of the like cheesy white guys on the team, right? She's dating Travis Kelce. Now, y'all could be mad at me for saying this, but I don't give a fuck anymore. I've been letting my mouth loose lately, and I'm just tired of being restricted and limited. All right? Kelce is half a brother. Let me just put that on the table right now, and maybe Winston can confirm this, but I'm Latino. I grew up and know many black people in my life. Kelce got that black dog in him somewhere, all right? I like that about him as an element of his nature. Jackson knows, like, he can pretend all he wants to be the gangster tough guy, whatever. Kelce will snap his spine in front of his brother, So he knows not to be fucking with Taylor. Like, he knows not to be messing with Taylor. Now, Brittany has found a new coattail to ride, like she rode Patrick's to fitness fame. She's going to ride Taylor's for as long as she can. It helps her brand. It makes sense. But Jackson knows not to mess around with Taylor. Look, and my only issue with this is so goofball. To me, it bothers me as an NFL fan. It's goofball. I got nothing against Taylor Swift. I can name a lot of her songs. I enjoyed a lot of her music up until the most recent. I don't capitalize the titles of my songs anymore. I got no issue with her success. Go be successful. Knock yourself out. Make the money. That new bracelet of hers with the 87 Kelce, she's going to make $200 million off those bracelets. She's a smart businesswoman. She understands what she's doing. But the goofball nature of it all, and to me, the way that we're more aware of the white influence at times in certain things and the way they favor white influence in the NFL over black influence, it kind of plays into that. But of course, that's nothing she's doing. It's just the way the NFL is using it for me is sitting wrong. She just happens to be the point person for it. And so I'll occasionally take some jabs. That's it. But
I'm glad they stepped off the gas, because you were taking something that was like kind of a fun little trivia moment. It was, they're still, because last week for the first week of SNL, they called Travis in last minute. Hey, can you come be in this last part of the sketch we're doing about you and Taylor? So like he came in and did that, and everybody was like, oh, so she supposedly stayed the night in Kansas City. Like he's just going to bail. So maybe they're not that serious. And then Taylor appeared on the second one, once again, Ice Spice. You know what I'm saying? So it's like they're serious, including the fact that I got to give Travis Kelce. You said he would, if Jackson got too close, he'd break his spine. If you need proof that Travis is serious about this relationship and he is protective, and I can't believe we're doing a whole segment on this right now.
Yes, you can. Go ahead.
He bought a $6 million mansion because people were getting too close to his house. Because he didn't need that kind of protection. Because I will be honest with you, the one thing that is driving me a little crazy is the Swifties are getting a little too ridiculous with the way they start shutting. Well, hold on. The way that they're shutting the world down in kind of weird ways now. So there was a situation where she went to a friend's wedding and they all camped outside this person's wedding, like thousands of people. Like there's a point at which it's like, cool, I know you really love Taylor. I know you like, but can she live her life? You know what I'm saying? No. And so same thing. Travis's home was getting bombarded. And so he went and bought a new mansion in a gated community to allow Taylor, while she's visiting him, to have some privacy. Like, I got to give the brother credit. He is defending his lady left and right, and he's very serious about this relationship. So I give so much kudos and credit to that. You know what I'm saying? So, like,
No, I understand.
I think that being said, I'm not worried about that as far as Jackson getting too much in the mix. If he gets a little too close, Taylor's team and Travis will handle it. I'm not worried about that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I know a little bit of that feeling. One of the reasons we left LA is because the Outlaw Schmoedown fans were coming to the house all the time. It was getting a little too much, to be honest.
So you just went and bought a new mansion in San Diego. I got
San Diego, right? No, just joking. But no, I absolutely agree. I mean, the cultish nature. Listen, but let me be clear, because I don't want to get skewered by anybody who might find this and go stupidly viral with it. The Swifties are unsettling, like any other fandom is unsettling. I'm sure the Elvis fans were pretty fucking nuts. The Sinatra fans were fucking nuts. The Beatles fans were fucking nuts.
Social media makes it worse, though.
Sure, because of social media nowadays, it makes it much worse. Because they have a community. They can find each other quickly. Yeah.
Because like that's the thing. Stuff like this used to happen with Michael Jackson. That's part of the reason why.
Well, yes, Michael Jackson.
There's a very famous video. Yes. Madonna. There's a very famous video. Yeah. Where he rented out an entire grocery store and paid actors to be other shoppers, to be the cash register people, so he could just see what grocery shopping was like. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy. But like, like the fact that in certain levels, being president has more privacy and is safer than being Taylor Swift at this point is mind-numbing. And I'm not saying you shouldn't love Taylor and that you shouldn't stand Taylor, but there is a level of Taylor, Beyonce, anybody of that level, still love them, still show up at their shows if they're going to be at events, screaming your head off. But if you found out Beyonce is going to her homie's wedding, if you don't take your sorry ass home, and if they want to post it on social media, watch it, leave her alone. And the same thing with Taylor. If Taylor is out at a football game and you want to lose it, I think it's kind of stupid that you want to spend $1,000 to go see a football game that you give zero fucks about. You just want to breathe the same air as Taylor Swift. You might need to examine your life and your problems and maybe watch the show Swarm on Amazon, not to plug a random show, but that was actually a very good look into the life of like when you're taking fandom too far. You know what I'm saying? Like, Rocha. So like, it's one of those things where like I both have no sympathy because you're a billionaire, you have everything you could ever want in the world, you're touring the world, all that, and then there's a part of she's still human, and like why are we up Taylor's ass this much? Can she just have a relationship you can fawn over, you can be excited for her, make your friendship places, go to the shows, and just let her live her life? I
just wonder if the NFL stopped showing her, if she'd show up to the games, and I wonder about that. If they'd stop like showing shots of her reacting to stuff, if she'd stop going to the games, I have a feeling she would. And it's kind of a symbiotic relationship that they have. The NFL is getting something out of this, and so's Taylor. So they're both buying into it.
I don't believe that. I'm gonna tell you why I don't believe that. She didn't need the publicity, but I'm gonna tell you why. She didn't need the publicity. She's Taylor fucking Rocha. Rocha. Do you honestly believe that Mr. like Chief, that the dude that was like the greatest Chiefs fan on the planet, like if he wasn't a Taylor Swift fan before, that all of a sudden now he's consuming every album and he's like, I have to get to the Eras tour in South America and I'm going to the movie. No, the people that were already rocking with Taylor in that regard.
I'm telling you right now,
Kristen. It sounds like Kristen is watching the show, and I just got a text. Oh no! I heard her saying that she's like, "See, Rocha pissing me off." So
it's not personal.
She didn't need the publicity. She really didn't.
This is irrelevant.
The movie did 100 mil, not because they were like, wow, she goes to NFL games. I guess I'm going to the Eras movie now.
No, of course not.
We're going. So what publicity is she getting out of this that's making her just wow? Okay,
so let me clarify something. Okay, and let me be clear on this. And I'm going to take you down my logic path. And of course, if Kristen wants to get upset, she can get upset. I totally respect that. I like and appreciate Kristen. But here's the deal. Yes. When you get to be famous and when you get to be wealthy, by working towards that, you can never have enough fame and never have enough wealth. And so what she has done is unlocked a new arena for her celebrity, because as you said, a lot of dudes who maybe weren't into Taylor Swift before or didn't like it or whatever, guess who's getting them into Taylor Swift now? Because their wives are watching these games, or these wives are talking. That opens the door to more celebrity. No, it is. Because
I would
young
argue,
people, listen, I'll let you finish. Let me finish. Young
I'm sorry.
people jump into this stuff, and she is appealing to younger and younger generations. And the idea of that's a man thing, that's a woman thing. On the lower generations, the younger generations, that is disappearing. Okay. And so it's much more fluid in the gender dynamics. And so what we're seeing here is that this is a new arena for her to unlock, to get more fans and to get her name bigger and bigger in new areas. Just like when you're wealthy, you want to go and get more money. That's how people are built, okay? And they're always opening doors to new arenas to increase their celebrity, increase their wealth. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that that's what's happening. That's what I believe is happening here. I don't think it was manufactured, but I do think the way it worked out, it is helping Taylor Swift overall to increase, not that she needs it, but it increases it and gives her a new arena from which to make money from and to be successful from. Nothing wrong with that.
Okay, we only have 15 minutes left, and we have a lot more sports to cover, so I'm going to make this super quick. The very last thing that I will say in that regard, I think the easiest way to do it, and maybe we need to start doing a live on the street segment for this show going forward. I would love to hear the cross-section of NFL fans that have said, I am now a Taylor Swift fan, because the funny thing is, it has pissed off more NFL fans that the NFL has decided to dive into this. So I heartily disagree far as that
I disagree with you on that completely, because I don't think any of these NFL websites, any of these NFL social media accounts would post the Taylor Swift stuff if it wasn't getting a reaction, both positive and negative, strongly. And don't believe just because negative social media is there, it doesn't mean positive reactions to it aren't there as well.
Your argument was the reason part of why she's doing this is the idea that it's only going to further build her brand and her fame and all that kind of stuff.
Increase her celebrity.
One, her celebrity is at peak. It doesn't need to grow.
I don't think any. I don't think any.
That is purely from the standpoint of what she has done in this past year. In this past calendar year since Midnight's dropped, and then this whole tour. Literally, I would make the argument the biggest moment in Taylor Swift's career. People would make it before, which is fucked up, but it's sort of the case as far as the grand sphere of people was unfortunately the Kanye interruption at the start of her career. I think the moment that did it now,
staged, but whatever.
I think the moment that it wasn't stopped.
They had the same manager. It was staged.
I think the moment that did it now, 100% was both the Ticketmaster lawsuit, because they built that site and it 100%. Woke people up to stuff. And it was like, Taylor's not standing for this, and neither her fans. And then what this tour has done as far as money, as far as social media moments, as far as all of that, this is the defining moment of her career. She didn't need the NFL. That makes zero sense to me.
This is not about need. This is not about need.
But I'm saying it's not doing anything. It's not moving the needle for her. It's moving the needle for the NFL. It's not moving the needle for her. We have to talk about sports. We have to move on, bro.
You're insane.
That is insane. You're insane. We can do a whole show on this if you want. I'll fucking break this shit down as a bonus show. I'm not doing this.
I'll bring stats. I'll bring receipts.
I guarantee.
Let's take a quick break. And we'll tear through the rest of the NFL if we can. And look, the fact that we're even talking about her says volume. So we'll be right back right after this. All right, let's hit these games here. Mac Jones, a late touchdown, lifted the Patriots to a shocking win over these supposedly powerhouse Buffalo Bills. I'm Bills Mafia, but even I got to ask, like Salazzo did, hey, 10 years ago, could I have gotten to the Godfather and shot him 5 times? It feels like the Bills are now the Godfather getting shot, picking up some fruit in the street right now, losing to Bill Belichick. And this gave Belichick his 300th win. Ooh, that hurts even more, man. And Mac Jones took care of business here. Pretty incredible. 25 of 30 for 272 yards and 2 touchdowns. No interception here. Last week, he threw 5 here. Ezekiel Elliott, your boy Ezekiel, got a touchdown. Chad Ryland added 3 field goals. And Josh Allen, was 27 of 41 for 265 yards, 2 touchdowns to Stephon Diggs. And James Cook had a terrible interception on his first play of the game here, but they struggled on 3rd down and scored touchdowns only on 2 of their 4 red zone opportunities. This is a bad loss for the Bills, and maybe this is them overlooking the Patriots, but this is a divisional loss as well here, man. What do you take away from this game real quick, brother?
I think it's a situation of you want to talk about somebody not getting the job done. Um, by the day, Josh Allen, I have now dubbed him whole milk Dak Prescott. I'm dead serious because Dak being half and half, you know what I'm saying? Josh Allen is whole milk Dak Prescott. And I'll give you I think that there's a bunch of intangibles where he is better than him, but like little ways in which he just can't get it done in these moments. I wish people would give the same energy to Josh Allen as they gave to Dak, because there is no reason that the Bills shouldn't have won probably 2 Super Bowls by now, the way they've been rolling.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild that they haven't already, and the Bills look just like what the Cowboys were in like those kind of Romo, Dez eras. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like all the talent in the world winning games that you're like, yo, look at you.
Yeah.
And then this happens. And now, mind you, it's a divisional game, so that's going to say something. But the Patriots have been awful. They have been really bad.
Horrible. People were questioning Bill Belichick as a coach. They were so bad. Yeah.
To the point where they were like, is Bill Belichick going to get dog walked mid-season?
Right.
Like, is he going to get fired mid-season? Which they would never do that to him.
Is Bill Belichick going to have to choke a bitch? Yeah, exactly. It was basically that. It was basically that moment for God's sake. Yeah.
But like, name somebody outside of Mac Jones just because he's a starting quarterback, and then I'll give you outside of him and Ezekiel Elliott on this team. Because this team is full of like folks that are just not there. You know what I'm saying?
True.
And so for them to put this kind of win on the Bills, now mind you, what this really feels like, because this should have been a 2-game losing streak. They should actually be 3-4, because we saw that play, and that was clearly pass interference at the end of that game again. But they felt weird about not calling it. And you almost watched this game end in the same fashion, but this time they had the balls to make the correct call.
Two teams with terrible records that they would have lost 2 in a row to, mirroring kind of what the 49ers are going through right now.
If Stephon Diggs doesn't have that miraculous kind of like skirt, like almost tackle, realizes he hasn't hit the ground, did a spin move and made it to the end zone, what are we saying about the Bills in this game?
Yeah.
So that's the whole thing. And it's funny. People are saying Josh is more of a Brett Favre. Yeah, I would make the argument that both Dak Prescott and Josh Allen have a Brett Favre gunslinger level of play. And that's the only difference is Favre, when he was like bad, and that tended to be more towards the end of his career, which kind of pushed in the Aaron Rodgers era and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That was a little different. The reason why I think Josh and Dak perfectly aligned, because you look at moments when like Dak was at his peak and he was balling the same way that Josh was. It's just because it's the Cowboys, and people love to laugh when the Cowboys self-destruct. It's much easier to just shit on Dak 24/7. But Josh has some of the same bad turnover tendencies, can put up 300-yard games, but then throw an interception when you need him not to. They had no business losing to the Patriots, and yet here we are.
We'll see what happens. I mean, once again, there's no shocking breaking news in the NFL. Bill Belichick can coach, and so he took care of business here against these Bills, and Mac Jones looked good. So who knows if this is just a one-off, and we'll go back to the same questions over the next few weeks. But for now, this is a good victory for Bill Belichick, getting 300 wins. He's only behind Don Shula and George Halas. That's hella company to be a part of. So shout out to him. And who knows? Maybe this turns him around. Maybe they get to 500 by the end of the season. We shall see. I mean, Kirk Cousins, I'd be kicking tires on this particular team.
Hey, man, quick joke. Somebody said Joe Burrow made a Super Bowl. Like, what kind of milk is he? And someone said almond milk. I said, yeah, but the reason why is, one, black people lactose intolerant. So, black people, we love Joey Cool. He got that swag about him. So, like, yeah, we would have hung out with the non-dairy milk alternative. But also, almond is brown, baby.
That's true.
Same thing, brown black folk. That's that color. So Joey B got that sauce.
Joe Shiesty got some of that in there, that's for sure. Kareem Hunt's late touchdown helped the Cleveland Browns. Somebody tweeted at me going, are you going to talk about Cleveland now they're 4-2? And I said, and I responded in my mind, like, no, not as long as their serial sexual assaulter is their fucking quarterback. But no, PJ Walker came in after that serial sexual assaulter was knocked out of the game with a shoulder injury after only throwing the ball 5 times here, going 1 of 5. But PJ Walker came in, replaced Watson in the first quarter, and directed a second straight Fourth quarter comeback, relying on Kareem Hunt's second score of the day with 15 seconds left to give Cleveland a 39-38 victory over Gardner Minshew and the Colts. And look, Gardner Minshew did his best to give this game to the Browns with 4 turnovers. I think 2 interceptions and 2 fumbles here that were recovered by the Browns here. But the Browns took care of business. They're now 4-2 and knocking on the door here. All of a sudden, the AFC North, Winston, looks dangerous. The Browns are 4-2. The Bengals seem to have figured it out. The Steelers upset the Rams on the road in Los Angeles to go 4-2. And now the Ravens look like they've found things out. So this is now what it looked to be a joke of a division just a couple of weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. Now looks like to be one of the most competitive divisions in football. Crazy. Your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, look, man, that Browns defense is no joke. That's the real now they gave up 38 points. That's not great. So
that's to Minshew, for God's sakes. Yeah, right. Exactly.
But we need to take a look at what it was, because if you look at it even at fantasy football stats, people were still getting 16 points from them because they had multiple forced fumbles.
Yes.
They had an interception, big interception for 20 yards. You know what I'm saying? So you had the blocked field goal where Myles Garrett did a full leap over that line and said, bitch. Those are all things that you have to look at this Browns defense and special teams that are getting the job done. Because the funny thing is, even when Watson's out there, they don't look great under center. The run game's been good, even without Chubb.
Yeah.
Ford's been great, doing the damn thing, but he got hurt. But then Hunt came in and did well. Strong did well. So their run game is immaculate.
Yeah, exactly.
So I got to give them all that credit, man. Here's the blocked field goal. Here he is. Boom. Perfect timing. Give me that ball, baby.
No human should be able to do that, for God's sakes. That's scary.
Like the cameraman couldn't keep up. That was wild.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I will tell you this. I think my favorite part about it, and as long as he can, I don't need him. I don't want the Browns to win a ring. Not as long as Deshaun Watson's on your roster. Miss me with that. But I'll tell you, I thought of the Ja Rule Ashanti song when Watson hit his head and was taken out. Baby, I'm not always there when you call, but I'm always on time. Karma may not have been there when we called her, being like, girl, why is he getting $240 million guaranteed? But the amount of injuries he keeps taking in the middle of the season, Karma's always on time. It is what it is.
The Ringer did a breakdown of Jacoby Brissett's numbers last year versus Deshaun Watson's this year, and it's like Jacoby is astronomically higher than Deshaun at this point, stats-wise, and he's about $200 million less to have on your team, for God's sake. So that's pretty scary to take a look at that. But yeah, Myles Garrett was insane in this game. Just read this stat here on Twitter. He is the only player in the last 30 seasons, not 30 games, 30 seasons, to record multiple sacks, force multiple fumbles, and block a field goal in the same game. He's the only player to have done it in 30 seasons.
That literally means he is everywhere.
Yes.
He is everywhere.
Yeah. He finished with 9 tackles in the game overall. So pretty incredible stuff there from the Cleveland Browns. So like I said, this division now looks like a lot of fun and frisky as fuck. Who knows what's going to happen? And this is Baltimore's 5-2, Pittsburgh 4-2, Cleveland 4-2, Cincinnati 3-3. This is going to be a crazy end of the year for that division for sure. All right, let's get into the rest of the NFL here and knock them out real quick. The Jaguars defeated the hapless Saints here 31-24. The Seahawks, who are also knocking on the door here in the NFC West, beat the Cards 20-10. The Steelers, as I said, shocked the Rams. Deontay Johnson coming back here to help them. That was a massively huge deal. But also Brett Maher turning into the Brett Maher of Dallas fame, missing 2 field goals and a point after attempt is a big reason why they won it as well. The Steelers won as well. The Giants beat my shitty Commanders here 14-7. Sam Howell is on pace now to lose 648 yards on 97 sacks this year, which would surpass Randall Cunningham's losing 489 yards, which is the record in 1986, and the 76 sacks that David Carr took in 2002, which is the record there. So, man, fix that fucking O-line and fire Ron Rivera right fucking now. Broncos beat the Green Bay Packers 19-17. The Bears got a shock victory over the Raiders 30-12 behind their backup quarterback Tyson Bagent. I think the Justin Fields experiment might be over here. Deontay Foreman also ran for 89 yards, 2 touchdowns, and the 4-2 Atlanta Falcons, shock of shocks, defeated the Buccaneers 16-13. Dare I say it, the Falcons may actually be becoming a good team. All right, which of these games do you want to talk about, or moments you want to talk about here, Winston?
I just need a moment. So Sam Howell has played 8 games.
8 games in
the
NFL.
One last season. He had 3 sacks in that one game, which is pretty bad, but it's one. Yeah. In 7 games.
Yeah.
He has been recorded taking 40 sacks.
40 sacks.
What are you doing to this child? This is worse than what Joey B was dealing with. And at least Joey B was good. Like, holy crap. He still found a way to get to the goddamn Super Bowl taking all those sacks. You're going to break this child. You need to find an O-line immediately.
I know David Aldridge broke it down in The Athletic. And David Aldridge, longtime Washington columnist, he broke it down saying, like, you don't need to be asking whether Sam Howell is the right quarterback. You need to be asking about questions about everyone else on the field on the offensive side of the ball who is not doing their best, and the coaches who are not doing their best to protect Sam Howell in this situation, because it is insane. Yes, some of it is his fault because Sam holds on to the ball too long. That's what you're going to get sometimes with a young quarterback, but a lot of it isn't his fault. It's the schemes, and they were able to stop the Giants by bringing in 3 tight ends in the second half to be able to block for Sam Howell and get them an opportunity to possibly win the game. Of course, Sam overthrew Curtis Samuel wide open in the end zone there, and it was an issue overall. Couldn't get the job done. But yes, the sacking just messes with your head, man. So they got to do something here soon. For God's sake.
Can we just, I guess the other moment I would want to talk about, and then I defer to you. Can we just talk about how there is something just so lovely about watching the Packers be so bad at the quarterback position? My God. Man. It is. I don't ever wish anything bad on black quarterbacks, man. You know, like Issa said, I'm rooting for everybody black. But I there is something very specific about how I feel about the Packers after dealing with Favre all those years to turn around and deal with Rodgers all those years. There is something very vindicating about just like Packers quarterback play just being just not good. So there's that. But you know, for the sake of, like I said, rooting for everybody black, I hope that Jordan Love figures it out, man. I hope that he's able to you know, like have a good long-standing career, because we've gotten to a place now where I believe the number of starting black quarterbacks is almost half, which is crazy.
Good job by you.
Crazy. That is so cool. But if we want to continue to see that, like I know the real test people say sometimes. I remember I did an interview with Louis Tan over at Collider, with way back on a Collider Live episode. And he said something along the lines of, you know, you've made it as a group when you can have all walks of life in your demographic be represented. So he's like, in this show I'm in, we actually have, you know, a Chinese dude who's a hardcore heroin addict and trying to deal with that and blah, blah, blah. And he goes, I know it sounds weird, but there's something about being like, you always just see like Asians as the nerd or the martial artist. You see like a dude dealing with addiction problems. That's like showing a real swath of life for a group, you know, and not just a stereotype of we're always at this particular moment. So it's kind of the same thing. You want to have bad quarterbacks the same, but you want to have good quarterbacks. I just want more good ones to be there so we don't have an excuse to be like, we told you should never let them play quarterback. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't want that to happen. That's
all right. You want to have bad black quarterbacks and good black quarterbacks. And just so at the end of the day, the quarterback position is irrelevant of color. You just got to be good at it, right? And have the right situation.
That's all I want. That's all I want.
Exactly. 100%. I do want to keep going on with this. I want to bring this up because this is the frustration with Washington. It is my team. I'm wearing my shirt. But Jonathan Allen was, I don't know if you saw this clip, Winston, but Jonathan Allen was asked about the game after the Giants and the thoughts he had. And I want to play you 2 clips. First, I want to play you his response to the question he got here about the game. Let's take a listen to that.
Evaluation like after a loss like that.
They whooped our ass, plain and simple. Got to be better.
Anything they did that surprised you guys early on?
No, I want to say so. I think it's just a lack of focus on our part, a lack of attention to detail, not starting fast, and creating holes that are too big for us to overcome in the second half.
Does it get frustrating when that team?
Yes, it does. I'm fucking tired of this. Fucking tired of this bullshit. It's been 7 fucking years of the same shit. Tired of this.
What can you do now going forward to get it turned around?
Get our minds right and get ready to play Philadelphia.
That is my man Jonathan Allen dropping the hammer. And I gotta bring this up as well because I think. Oh wait, where did I go with the search? Sorry about that. Let me go back here. I had a great thing pulled up. I want to play you guys because the reaction from Ryan Clark to this question I thought was fantastic. If I could just spell correctly, I would have brought it up here because Ryan Clark said it really well. Oh, God damn it. Ryan Clark said it really well here. Here you go.
In the locker room,
Yeah.
and he got a do-rag with sunglasses and a chain on with the open chest. You finna get some bleeps. You walked into expletives. This man looked like show enough when this started. And can't hear your question because he got on AirPods. He don't even know the question, y'all. Silence. The sheer audacity of the outfit says I give no F's, zero of them. And you want to run this on regular syndicated network TV? You can't.
Yep. That's
So great.
Ryan Clark will when he knows, and that's the truth. Because I clocked the same thing as he was doing. I was like, is my nigga out here listening to he is clearly listening to Chief Keef shit I don't like while answering these fucking questions. Do you like losing games? That's the shit I don't like. Like he clearly is just hearing this in his head, just like mad as fuck.
It's true.
Bro,
it's
I
true.
love that. That was hilarious.
Oh, so funny, man. Ryan Clark.
Last NFL thing I want to talk about real quick, man. You know, Olave just got arrested.
Yeah, the Chiefs receiver. Don't tell
No,
Sean.
No. The Saints. The Saints.
Oh,
receiver,
there's a
Chris
Chiefs
Olave.
receiver that was arrested as well. But yes, go ahead. Yes.
So Chris Olave was running his car 35 miles per hour over the posted speed limit. He didn't resist and was cooperative with law enforcement when he was pulled over. It turns out he was in a 35 mile per hour zone, doing about 70, weaving in between cars and whatnot. And when he got pulled over, so he has been arrested. Lord knows what will end up happening as far as anything. But here, hold on. This was the I wanted to show you the tweet I saw about someone being like, this was Olave on the street. Hold on. All right, it's loaded. So they said this was Olave after the game.
Oh my God. That is hilarious.
So I really like Olave. He is clearly that guy on the Saints right now.
Yeah.
So I hope that they figure all that out. But you know, he's doing that kind of speed. You have to do some because we saw this. So someone said clearly the X factor here is Derek Carr driving these receivers crazy. Because remember that happened with that Raiders receiver who's now going to serve like a
Henry Ruggs,
essentially what a life sentence, right? Because he ended up killing that woman. Yeah. So like maybe Derek Carr just does it to you, bro. That you just
messing with your head. Let's take a quick break and we'll hit the rest of the stuff. We got to get on out of here right after this. Winston, some quick NFL news here to throw out for your thoughts here. Justin Ross is the Chiefs receiver who has been charged with domestic battery and criminal property damage of less than $1,000. Both charges are misdemeanors, but he was arrested on Monday in a suburb of Kansas City. So we'll see what happens with that. Zach Ertz for the Cardinals has been placed on IR, an injured reserve, because of a quad strain he suffered against the Seahawks. And your favorite kicker, Brett Maher, has been released by the Los Angeles Rams this morning, 2 days after he missed 3 crucial kicks in the loss against the Steelers. I know you're not cheering against Brett, but you felt the feeling of having Brett Maher as your kicker. So a sad thing for him overall. Your thoughts?
I believe in second chances. And I realized I accidentally said, I believe in second chances. But because I was doing the finger thing and I heard it in my voice a little bit. But you just looking at the situation, I'm not surprised, and that sucks. And Brett may probably not. I hope you saved your ducats because that might be a wrap.
I think that's it.
I mean?
Yeah, I think that's a wrap on him, bro. Yeah. Now, what about Kareem Jackson? He was suspended for 4 games after his last hit here against the Packers. I guess the NFL figured enough was enough, but this is the hit they're talking about. He has been suspended before for hitting defenseless players helmet to helmet. This was his last one that he got on the Packers. Now he's out for 4 games. So I think that's fair, dude. The one he hit on was it the Commanders? Yeah, that was pretty brutal, the one he did on the Commanders as well. So just no surprise they finally suspended him for 4 games. I think that's a good thing, for God's sakes. All right, let's move on to your Rangers here. They took care of business, my man. They are in the World Series. The Texas Rangers. Adolis Garcia was the man against these Astros and probably MVP of the series. I don't know if they've announced that yet, but it was incredible to watch this game. They were down. They had to win 2 games in a row to get into the series, and they got the job done.
On the road.
What are your thoughts? On the road.
First
thoughts?
of all, I would like to point out that not a single team in this series won a home game.
Yeah, crazy.
So the Rangers win the first 2 in Houston.
Yeah.
They lose the next 3 in Dallas.
Yeah.
They win the next 2 in Houston. So not a single home team got to celebrate their squad, putting it away. So that's very interesting to me. But the way in which some of these wins went down for the Rangers, I think, is what's huge. I think that, like, with that being said, I'm very interested to see how this Diamondbacks Phillies game ends. The Diamondbacks holding on for dear life to tie it up. And so as we move into the rest of the NLCS today. But Garcia, dude, Garcia is the man. The fact that we were already up 10-2, dude, and Garcia's ass like, bitch, I want another home run. It's just knocked in the 11th run, bro. He is a beast, and finding out about his story, I didn't really know his full story. Like, that's so cool, man, and like it's really fun to see. And I'm telling you, we have some demons to exercise from those back-to-back World Series where we couldn't get the job done. So I'm really hoping that we can finally get over that hump. If we win the World Series, bro, I might have to make a last-minute trip to Dallas for this parade. Like, I like, holy crap. And it's cool to see. And I the other thing that was so interesting, and I would hope that I can maintain a lot of the support from various fans around the league as we took out the cheaters and bounce them right out of the playoffs. You continue to support us on our quest for our very first World Series title. So
I am continuing to support. I was very happy to see you guys win that game last night. I got home from my screening. I put on the highlights and watched that whole thing. I didn't know who won, so I just put on the highlights and I enjoyed that. I love this breakdown from Dan Clark on the cheaters, for people calling them a fucking dynasty. Here are the Houston Astros: 2015 ALDS choke, 2016 missed the playoffs, 2017 cheating like motherfuckers, 2018 ALCS choke, 2019 World Series choke, 2020 ALCS choke, 2021 World Series choke, 2022 finally win the ring, and 2023 choke in the ALCS up with 1 game left to win the damn thing. So people calling these Astros a dynasty are out of their fucking minds. They are a good player. They're a good team that were in contention all the time. But in the end, they're just like the Atlanta Braves in the 90s. Won once, and that's fucking it. And for all the talk about how great they are, they've only won once, man. And if you only do it once, when you've had all those shots at the title, to me, I just don't think you're considered one of the great teams ever in the history of baseball, because you only won it once. So it's more about not doing it than getting it done, for God's sake. So, all right, one last thing. Oh, two last things here. We should hit this real quick. College football, Ohio State got by Penn State 20-12, so they are odds-on favorites to get in that college football playoff. FSU and Bama won. USC was upset by Utah, so now people are talking about sitting Caleb Williams for the rest of the season to save him for the NFL. I wonder if that happens. Could be interesting. But the big story is the Michigan story. Real quick, Winston. They are being accused of stealing signs and videoing the plays and the called plays of other teams in their schedule. This gentleman, who's a former retired Marine captain, bought tickets to a number of games, sat on the opposite sideline so he could watch behind the teams at the sidelines, the teams are playing, and recorded the entire game from their sideline, and even hired people or sent tickets to these people to go in his place to do it as well. This is some really ugly shit. Harbaugh is saying that he knows nothing about this, but this is going to get real ugly for Michigan before it gets better. This is madness, dude. Don't you think? What are we doing here?
All I know is I am not the biggest Penn State fan. I don't hate them. I just I love trolling my friend who went to Penn State, and literally everywhere we go, if she hears even the remote, like she'll just go, Penn State, like at the top of her lungs. I know that I believe that's who they're playing this weekend is Michigan.
Yeah.
I think just for the sake of like when you do fuck shit, I hope fuck shit happens to you
Yeah.
like that, man. Then I hope Penn State gets in that ass, because
Yeah.
that's absolutely crazy. And I hope it doesn't ruin Harbaugh, man. He's had his kind of ups and downs in his career. I hope this doesn't have blowback on him for that. But that's wild to me. That's absolutely crazy.
If this blows up, he's got to leave and go to the NFL, because there's the only place he can go is the NFL, because it's just too dirty. If they find out he's involved in any way, shape, or form of this, it would be crazy. Also, Michigan State apologized for putting up that trivia question about Hitler during their game, saying it was a third-party vendor. How are you not vetting this shit before it goes up on your big screen? Is mind-blowing to me, but
crazy.
there's a lot of drama around Michigan State.
It is crazy to me, bro.
Nuts.
My God.
Trivia question on Hitler. What the fuck are you doing? It's so dumb. All right, the NBA season opens tonight. Let's end on this, and then we'll get to your Streamlabs. Winston, any predictions you want to give about the NBA season, especially for Luka and your Mavs, or anybody else that you see that we should watch out for in the NBA?
I want to say that we're going to go the distance. I'm going to go so far as to say we will make it to the Western Conference Finals, but I think we'll end up losing it to, if I had to guess, I think the Lakers, honestly. I think with LeBron on his last leg, I think they're going to make the right moves to get themselves in that position to try and get one more before he's gone.
Yeah.
And then in the East, I don't think they'll win it, though. Honestly, I just think they'll make it to the finals. I think. I completely forgot about Denver. Who am I kidding? We'll make it to the Western Conference Finals. We'll lose to Denver. However, I do think adding Dame to the Bucks and knowing that this is what he's been fighting for, I gotta think the Bucks are gonna take it over the Celtics, which are also dangerous by getting Holiday. But I think the Bucks will take it over the Celtics. I think Bucks get title number 2 and they win it over the Nuggets. That's my prediction.
I think Dame deserves a ring, for God's sakes. LeBron's got rings. Anthony Davis has rings. They deserve them. Denver just got their rings. I think absolutely Dame deserves it. I think the Bucks are going to take care of business in the East. The East a little weaker than the West, in my opinion. I mean, you got the Nuggets. I think the Lakers solved what everyone said 3 years ago, or 3 or 4 years ago. They needed three-point shooting. They went and got three-point shooting. That's going to help alleviate a lot of stress on LeBron and Anthony Davis. I think they're going to be great. I think the Suns are going to be fantastic and be a very tough out on the West side of things as well. And Golden State, don't ever discount Golden State when you're talking about the West. That could be an interesting possibility. And we'll see what happens with James Harden. That is still up in the air. We don't know where he's going. If he goes to the Clippers, then you might add the Clippers to the conversation. And don't sleep on the Memphis Grizzlies. They look like they are ready to make that leap yet again, this team. So I'm looking forward to seeing what we're going to get from out of there. But yeah, I agree. I think it's Celtics Bucks in the finals of the East. Unless Jimmy pulls off another one of these damn miracles, playoff Jimmy, I think it's absolutely going to be the Celtics and the Bucks in the East. I think Bucks are going to take it all the way to the title there. We will see. All right, there you go. That's our let's hit the Streamlabs real quick before we get on out of here. Apologies to anybody who sent them in. We haven't gotten to them yet. Jorge in his stresses says, can't believe my Pats finally showed up. Looks like the AFC East are frauds. And a fun fact about Trash Allen, he hasn't had over 2 games in a row without turning the ball over. This season is weird. I see no complete team this year, so it's wide open. Certainly we said that already, Winston, for sure. Fred Tastic says, the trade deadline is approaching. Which player can make your team a legit contender? My Cowboys don't have a first and goal running back. Zeke ran out of gas, but he could at least punch it in from the 3. Yeah, do you go and get Zeke? What is there any trades you want to see happen for the Cowboys?
You don't go get Zeke. It's interesting because they need to be using Pollard more outside instead of trying to force him up the middle. I think that was the wrong choice. I think we need some help at linebacker. I think forcing Parsons to constantly be on the line and not letting him rove is a mistake. I think mixing him up is a big deal. But I think some linebacker help, especially with Van Der Esch, is still hurt, I believe, and stuff like that. I think that is our biggest need. Maybe a corner, but I think going to get a linebacker would really help. Yeah. And then that should really solve it. If you're giving me one trade that I can do, that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah. I mean, Pat Surtain, the second over on the Broncos. If you're looking to fix your defense, that's a guy that you can go get as well. And look, Jerry Jeudy is out there. Certainly they've been talking about getting him out of there. Cortland Sutton's played real well for them, so we will see. But I mean, my Commanders might be trading Chase Young or Montez Sweat. and that'll break my heart when that happens because I love both of those guys. So
You think you're going to trade Chase? Isn't this year 3?
oh yeah, I think absolutely. I don't think they want to keep going with Chase. I think he's
Because
too
of
injured.
injury prone?
Yeah, he's injury prone. And I think they just got Darren Payne a 4-year, $90 million contract. So Sweat and Young are going to want that kind of money as well. And that's going to be an issue for this team at this point. I mean, Magic Johnson has money, don't get me wrong, but this is going to be an issue for them. And they want to kind of clean house a little bit, I think.
Quick news out of the NBA real quick.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw that Giannis got a 3-year, $186 million extension before the start of the season because
there you go.
They know that he's their bread and butter. He's the number 1 player in the world. Like, and now
That's why
you
you
give him
signed
Dame.
Yep.
And then you gave him Dame. So
yeah, that's a smart move. And one last Streamlab here. We'll get out of here. Winston Fred Tastic says, my Texas Rangers have been forged through the fire. The ability to not get down when they get gut punched and come back like nothing happened is a special thing. Yes.
You're gonna need that in order to get over the hump, man. You're gonna need that. So to have your back against the wall, 3-2, you needed that, and they did it. And I'm really proud in how they did it because the other thing that they realized quickly, they come out swinging, no pun intended, and they went up 10-2 in like 3 innings,
right? Yeah,
and then they were able to just play good defensive ball and coast a little bit once they've already kind of knocked that score up. And a lot of those victories that they end up having are the ones where they score in those first couple innings, while people are still waking up.
Yep.
And then just hold the fort. So
yeah, we'll see what happens. All right, well, there you go. Thank you all so much. NBA season kicks off tonight, so enjoy the games if you're going to watch those games, but also Thursday Night Football coming up here with the Bills. We'll see how Josh Allen does bouncing back on Thursday night. But we appreciate the Streamlabs and the fun conversations in the chat, the lively back and forth. Thank you all so much. And Winston, thank you for another fun show. Where can they find you, brother? Promote.
You can find me at the Swaggy Blurred on all the places, man. You know what it is. I'll just keep it at that.
There you go. As for me, you can find me at the Rocha Says on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, Outlaw Nation on Twitch. Subscribe to the channel, but also head on over to my other channel. What is it? Jesus, I forget. YouTube.com/John Rocha Says. Go and subscribe there because I got all kinds of stuff coming up for you guys as well. All right, for Winston Marshall, I'm John Rocha. This is Game Time. Y'all take care of yourselves. Be well, and we'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode. Peace.